Day around 4 p.m. On the new indictment that has been handed down by the D.C. grand jury. And Congressman Bob Good joins me, and he tweeted yesterday, the day after Devon Archer testifies against the Biden crime family about their corruption, the Department of Injustice indicts the former president again. America sees what is going on. Well, Congressman Bob Good, welcome back to Jenna Ellis in the Morning.
Good morning, Jenna. It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. So what do you think is going on that America sees what's happening here?
Does anyone believe for a moment that if President Trump had completed 2 terms instead of 1 term and therefore was not eligible to run again as he is, that these multiple amounts of what I would call persecution versus prosecution charges against him would be brought? Great damage, great harm is being done to the country. There should be a very high threshold, a very high standard before we would take this sort of action to divide the country to the degree that we are. It's unbelievable how this latest persecution is based on the speech of the president, trying to suggest that he didn't believe what he was saying and he was lying, if you will, and therefore we're going to prosecute him for that. And as you said, the timing of it on the day after Devon Archer testifies behind closed doors to members of the Oversight Committee, and you see, as you called it, the Department of Injustice showing no even curiosity about the mounting evidence of the Biden crime family. Where is the special prosecutor, the special investigation? Where are the statesmen, Democrats, the senators, the Congress members saying, hey, what did the president know and when did he know it? Or what did he do and when did he do it? The narrative from the president, Biden, has changed from his team. You know, it's no longer he didn't know about his son's business dealings. It's now, he was not in business officially with his son. Even the Washington Post yesterday issued there are 4 Pinocchios for the president lying in a debate when he claimed on the debate stage with President Trump that my son didn't make any money off of China. And of course, now it's been demonstrated he's made millions of dollars off Chinese relationships. President Biden changes how we deal with China, how we consider them a competitive partner instead of an adversary. But of all the harm the president has done to the country, up there near the top is the loss of faith and trust in our judicial system, our federal law enforcement, our Department of Injustice, as you correctly termed it, Merrick Garland. They are not even pretending anymore, Jenna. They are not even pretending that they're not using their power, abusing their power to go after political opponents, and front and center is President Trump.
And I think, Congressman Good, that the American people do see this 2-tiered justice system when they see the difference in how President Trump is being treated versus Joe Biden. When you have Joe Biden out there saying all of these things that are obviously inconsistencies at best, probably lies and misrepresentations at worst, and everybody just covers for him. And it's like, oh yeah, so he said that in the narrative change. Well, so what? And it's like they ignore reality. And then the Democrats and the left and the Department of Justice parse literally every single word and phrase of President Trump. And we can see the contrast there. And so I was speaking with Representative Mike Johnson just yesterday, and he told me that Speaker McCarthy and the members of Congress are going to pursue at least an opening of an impeachment inquiry against Joe Biden. Is that something that you have heard that they are pursuing, and do you support that?
I certainly hope that is true. I hope the speaker will follow through on what he has said to that effect. The president deserves to be impeached because of the border invasion that he is perpetrating on the country. There's other things he's done that are outside of his constitutional authority that I think he deserves consideration for impeachment, like the student loan transfer scheme and the eviction moratorium being extended multiple times, as well as the depletion of our strategic petroleum reserves for political reasons, compromising national security and economic security. But yes, there certainly should be an inquiry based on the mounting evidence coming out of the Oversight Committee and the Judiciary Committee. And I hope the speaker will follow through on that. I think pressure is growing. I think as more and more evidence comes out, I think it becomes more and more impossible for anyone to ignore that. Even, as you know, some of the left-leaning, Democrat-aligned sort of lamestream media is beginning to report on this. It's not being reported to the degree that it should be. You've got this, as you know, double, triple, whatever standard going on, where I've had some reporters, when they ask me about President Trump, and I ask them, why don't you ask about President Biden? They say, oh, when charges are brought, then we'll begin to cover it. They did not apply that standard to President Trump. You had even the Hillary Clinton standard with James Comey, where it was no, you know, he finished his report and said, obviously, she mishandled classified information intentionally and lied about it and tried to hide it and obstruct and all that. But he said no reasonable prosecutor would bring charges. Why don't we apply that same standard to President Trump, who is a much lesser degree of, you know, concern about anything he may have done, you know, that wasn't perfectly fine or what have you, as it applies to classified information. And as president, he has authority, obviously, that the former Secretary of State did not, obviously. But how harmful to the country, how harmful to our system of justice, how harmful to the American people. And think, Jenna, if they prevail a year and a half from now and Biden or a Democrat wins and Merrick Garland and his ilk stay in power and Christopher Wray and he stay in power, what would they do in a second term? Who would they go after to try to put into prison beyond President Trump, those who supported President Trump, those who maybe members of Congress who voted to challenge the electoral results? How far will they go? As President Trump is right, it's not just about him. It's about the American people. It's about those who disagree with the regime. It's those who dare voice a different opinion or support a different candidate or fight against the oppression of this unprecedented assault on our freedoms by this administration.
So, Congressman Bob Good, what do you think are the chances then of President Trump getting a fair trial in Washington, D.C.? I mean, even Governor DeSantis this morning said, you know, you can indict a ham sandwich if it's a Republican in D.C. So zero. So
Zero.
Then what are the options?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. You know, will it be expedited to try to harm him more before the election? Will it be dragged out through the primary season? This judge that apparently would preside, who's you know, should be recused because of the judge's connections to the Democrat Party. You know, obviously we have a biased prosecutor, Jack Smith. But he has zero chance of getting a fair trial in D.C. It ought to be moved to a place, even into Virginia, even into purple Virginia would be better than hyper deep blue D.C. You know, everyone is entitled to a fair trial. Everyone is entitled to the presumption of innocence until conviction. I don't think the president could be convicted of any of these charges that have been brought against him in any of these cases by a fair jury and a fair trial. Jack Smith, as you know, is routinely overturned by appellate courts with the things that he does, going back to Bob McDonnell days, his prosecution and persecution of former Governor McDonnell. So, yeah, it's very concerning that's in D.C. Hopefully it would get moved to a fair place for him.